Hey, this is Ken again with Ken's Small Church Tech, and today I want to start with where I usually end up, talking about AI tracking and a new camera. This is the VX30M Ultra. It sounds pretty good. It is ultra large. It is a pretty nice machine. And right now, this is about 75 feet away at the back of our sanctuary. And this would be where I use it if I'm going to use it in this building. And this is how I would use it. Pastor comes out of the door, and immediately it picks him up, and now it's going to track him the rest of the service. Right now, I have it set up on full body. But I could set it up on close-up, or I could set it up somewhere else in between while it's tracking, and this does a pretty good job of that. The nice thing is, if you're using the Tenveo PTZ controller, you can turn that auto tracking on with right off the controller, right through the Ethernet, and so you don't have to use a remote. This remote works. The farther away, the less capable it gets. It sometimes picks up, sometimes doesn't. But again, I'm not going to be using the remote much. I'm going to be using the controller. The cool thing about this camera is this is an NDI, SDI, HDMI camera. It's got all those capabilities. And so what I'm doing here is I'm able to track this on my iPhone using NDI, while I'm recording using the HDMI into my video switcher. So this is auto tracking. So this is a presenter auto tracking, and you notice how it tracks me pretty good. It keeps me in the frame very nicely. Keeps pretty much my whole body except for my feet. And as you watch it, you can see it does pick up and it stops. And while I'm standing here, it will wobble a little bit if I'm kind of a little nervous, or somebody is just a little bit, just like to kind of, if you're walking, it does a great job. And then I stop. It does a fantastic job. And then I go to a different location and I do this. But if it's trying to track just somebody who is a little nervous, it doesn't work so well. So what you do at that point is you go to, see if I can get this to reach out here. And this is what I was talking about with the remote. Otherwise, I could change this with one button on a Tenveo. There we go. It's in presenter mode. And now I want to go to, come on. There we go, AutoFraming. So we're in AutoFraming mode. So as I'm up here in front now, and I'm walking along, notice how it's a little bit slower before it picks up the movement, and then it will slowly move me into place. So it's a little bit slower, it's a little bit more relaxed, it's not quite as quick to keep up with me. It'll let me get a little bit farther out of the center of the frame, and then it'll bring me back into it. The nice thing about this is here's where that nervous twitch doesn't really play much into it. If you notice, it's not moving so much. So if I'm kind of one of those nervous speakers and I'm kind of moving around a bit, notice how it just keeps me in place. Now if I move too far, it's going to pick me back up. So it's going to try to keep me in the entire frame without trying to keep up with me. Using the Tenveo PTZ controller and the function keys that are on there, auto tracking and setting up presenter mode or auto framing mode is way easier than what I'm showing you here with this remote. The VX30 does a fantastic job of this, VX30M Ultra. It keeps me in, does a pretty good job of keeping me, zoomed in and focused. And I go off stage for a minute. It's going to wait and then pick me back up. So this is my plan for a camera like this, or this one, is to have this set up, keep it on auto tracking, allow it to track faster across the front of the sanctuary, and when I need him to be instantly in, I can just switch to this camera and I have him all the time. And now let's see how close we can zoom in on that Bible sitting right there. Can we read that from 75 feet away? Again, this is a 30x zoom. The farther out I go, I can just about read that actually fairly large print on the left. But yeah, that's a pretty good zoom on there. And the only problem is as I move it, because it's moving kind of quick, I definitely see the little bit of vibration. Now it's on a tripod, so it's not a real stable tripod, so that's part of the problem there. Mounting this on the wall is the best way for this to be working, and that would be actually a nice way to go. So I'm going to take you back a little bit farther into right basically from the start. How are we going to set this up? So this is the new Tenveo 4K UHD ultra high def PTZ camera, the Tenveo VX30M Ultra camera. This is a 30x camera, and it comes with your typical remote, no batteries, AAA batteries, you need 2, a user manual, a search IP user guide. Also works pretty well for finding Tenveo IP addresses. You can also get to it by going to tenveo.com/download, and they also have their control app also there. A USB 3.0 cable. Here's a power cord. It is PoE, so you don't necessarily need this. It does come with a mounting bracket and hardware to mount, both on the bracket and in the wall. And of course, here is this huge camera. It's actually pretty large compared to other cameras I have. It does come with a rubber cover. You have lights on the side here for tally lights. And again, it's 30x zoom. It's a pretty nice big camera. It does say 4K HDI or NDI HX, and this is the back of the camera. So what we have here is your power in. If you do use a DC power supply, it's a 12-volt power supply. You have an audio line in and an audio line out. You have a LAN input for control, also NDI video coming out. You have a USB 2.0. I'm assuming that's going to be for recording on here. That seems to be a common thread nowadays. Your USB 3.0 cable for using your USB basically to your computer for a webcam. So you can use this as a webcam type of input. You have a SDI output. You have HDMI output. You have a reset button, and then you have your serial control inputs. I don't use those at all. I just do all my control over the network LAN. And like always with the Tenveo cameras, they do come with a nice pad underneath there to hold the camera steady during shipment. I'm going to leave that there till I actually mount this on the wall. But that is the Tenveo 30X HDMI, NDI, SDI, awesome camera, ultra camera. I'll be right back. I'll get this mounted and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so here we go. We now have the camera is installed on a tripod at the moment. You can see I have 2 cables coming out the back. One is the Ethernet cable going through our network, coming from a PoE switch, giving it power. The other one is HDMI, and that is coming into an A10 Mini Extreme. So that is giving us this picture right here. And you can tell with all the dark wood that we have in the church that lighting can be a problem. So we'll work on that as we get some additional information there and start working with that. But for right now, what we need to do is get this connected to our camera controller. So what I did was I brought up a app that Tenveo puts out. You can get to it by looking at the flyer that's in your box, or you can go to tenveo.com/download, and there you will find the IP search tool, and you can search. So you click on the search button, and you can see it's got a couple of cameras here. Now, one is the Zowie box, which is not a camera. It's actually a NDI converter to HDMI. This one here is one of the other cameras that is not even a part of, is not a Tenveo. And you can see it doesn't have a lot of information on. And then this one right here is the camera that we are using. So it is set up so that it is 192.168.0.206, and that does not work on our network, and that's the reason why I have a direct connection with it, but I don't have any control of it, and it's not talking on our network. So I would not be able to bring up the web interface, which is where it says Access Web, without making some changes. So we're going to go over here to Modify, and I happen to know where we are at, so I'm going to just change this over to a 7 right there. Actually, I am, 7 right there, so that I can, I got to change this to 7 down here too. And then confirm. All right, so now I have these as 7.206 and 7.1. And what I'm going to do now is just do a quick search again, make sure I can see it. And I am going to see if we can get to the web access on it. Oh, wrong one. All right, what's going on here? There it is. 7 here, web access on there. All right. So here's the login for the web access, admin, login, okay. All right, and so now we have the login page and the home page for the Tenveo camera. All right, now what I'm going to do is make this a little bit easier for myself. I'm going to make sure it is definitely on my internal network. So I'm going to hit submit, and then I'm going to come over here to System, go to Initialize, and I'm going to reboot it just to make sure that it's starting out correct and that we will be using the correct IP address. And it's working there, and we're going to come back to here. Oh. All right, so let's go back to my search tool. It gave it a new number, 231, and I knew the gateway was going to be 4, but it wouldn't give that to me there when I did it myself. So here's my web access. Admin. Yep, I know I should change my password. And you can see there is my new IP address. So that's the IP address it gave me, and everything looking good there. All right. Now, and I can see that on my, so if I go here, you can see it's back to showing the camera. here, and you can see here your typical stream. First stream is going to be 1080p. Your second stream is going to be 720p. And that's about right. So we can do NDI. You can see you got NDI here. And I typically change that NDI local device name if you can. There's my video stream, HDMI or SDI. So this does have SDI out. Where's that? Here we go. That does have an SDI capability, so you can choose SDI capability. And when you go to SDI, it will probably, it may, yep, it just shut down because I'm not connected via SDI. Okay, so I'll go back to HDMI. All right, now I do have HDMI coming in at 1920 by 1080, which is 1080p. I could go up to 4K, or I could go down to something less. 1080p is the best that I can do with the A10 Mini that I'm using here. So therefore, I am going to stay with that. We can go to AI tracking, auto tracking. We'll talk about that in a bit. Here's my image, and I can make some adjustments to the image. So let's talk about exposure. I'm going to auto exposure. Let's go to manual. Change the shutter speed a little bit. Whew, that didn't work. Okay, now we just change the shutter speed a little bit, and you can see a little bit brighter. So if I come back here, you can see now it brightened up a little bit. So I can change that shutter speed just a little bit slower, and I'll brighten up a little bit more. So I can do that right here in the web interface. Okay, so everything's looking pretty good right now. All right, so I do have this camera already set up in the PTZ controller. You can see it moves with the joystick. So I'm going to set up three locations here. Close up in the pulpit for the sermon. That'll be set 1. And then we come over here to the, back out a little bit. That's going to be 3. And then back out a lot. Wide view. And that's 2. All right, now when we call, you can see it immediately switches. And the third location. Okay, and what does that look like if we look at from here? Number 1, number 2, and number 3. And there we go. So we have presets set in. PTZ controllers make it easy to do a lot of this stuff, but you can also do it on the remote. So don't be afraid to use the remote for this. I just don't use it because I have PTZ controller. You can also do this in the web interface, just like what I just did with the shutter speed. For the image, and then come to the home page, and you can actually do this for controlling it also, but this is a bit more clunky, especially if you don't have a dedicated mouse. You can set your presets right here. You can set your focus. autofocus, auto sensing, so forth up there. If we go to tracking, we can set up presenter tracking, zone tracking, or auto framing tracking, and we can have a lot of different options. Now the nice thing about the figure size for the options, nice thing about this is that we can now choose during the auto tracking how much we want to see. So what I'm going to do is set up for showing the auto tracking. So one of the things that I'm doing at the present time, besides monitoring the tracking, doing a picture-in-picture with a second tracking camera, and just showing you, I am supposedly out to the left of the other tracking camera, even though the cameras are switched. So this side over here is the side that I'm on. The side over here now is the side where the picture-in-picture is. And that makes it pretty easy. So the 30X here, the 30M Ultra really allows me to choose left or right or middle. And so do other cameras, but this one does a good job of it. And so I can see that I am left of the center line, and that allows room for the picture-in-picture over here on the other side, on the right-hand side. Again, as we look at the UI here, the web interface, the default is for humanoid framing. So just leave it there. Mode is presenter, tracking on or off. You can also tell it to turn the tracking hints off. So by turning that off, okay, now when I hit the auto tracking, turn on auto tracking, it says frame down in the corner, but the top hints, the ones that were up in the top, are gone. Okay, so one of the things that you can do here is I have been using the tracking hints up at the top so that you can see them in the video. If you want those turned off because you want to be able to turn the tracking on and off without anybody seeing that show up on the video, that's kind of annoying. So if you're tracking live and you hit the tracking hint off, well, let's leave it on for a minute. I'm going to leave it on, and I'm going to change. Okay, there's the hint. It tells you the hint. It also tells you the IP address. And if you're live with that, that could be annoying. In fact, it would be annoying. So we're going to turn this off. And now when I turn the tracking off, I see on my PTZ controller that something just happened, but there's no hint at all on the actual video screen, so nobody's going to know that you just did that. And that would be nice. That'd be a nice thing to have done. I can turn the tracking back on, and then I can turn from auto presenter or auto frame to presenter mode, and those hints show up on my PTZ controller, but they do not show up on the actual video. And that's pretty cool. Now the other thing I'm doing right now is I'm recording to the VX30M as we speak. So it's recording directly to there. So I'm using the second microphone, this one right here in black. That one is recording directly into the camera, and so I can actually have a backup recording no matter what happens. So it does require another microphone on its own, or if you had a connection to the same mic and can pull off of there, that would be kind of cool. But it does allow for a connection so that we can record video and audio through that camera. So we'll see how that looks in just a moment, and I'll pull that up and we'll put that in here. But that's definitely a nice thing to have as a backup to whatever else is going on. So there's another reason why auto tracking from the back of the church on pasture up here with a mic, being able to pick up ambient sounds might be a really good way to back up whatever you're doing with the AV center and with the switchers and all that. This would just be simply a standalone recording that can also be used at the so the recording for the VX30M. If you notice down here, right now, it is not lit up. That is really dull. So we're going to come down here to Systems, and we're going to see if this flash drive, which is an older one, will work. So we got record settings. It did not like that at all, even though it's exFAT. I think this is just too slow. So I'm going to come over here with my other one, reformat it on my laptop. So we're going to do this with FAT32. Coming over here to plug this in. Plug that into the USB 3.0 drive. Come back over here, and you can see that I have space on the drive. Okay, I'm going to come over here to Home, and you can see that I have this is now lit up. I'm going to hit that. It says starting to record, and it did start to record. So it looks like now with that blue lit up over on the on that we are recording, and I am recording. Let me bring this up here, and now I'm recording also to the drive itself and the audio. So the audio is plugged in, and I'm going to bring up the audio that's going to come through the HDMI cable from that camera. So you should be able to hear the delay coming through that HDMI as opposed to coming directly in through the microphone that I'm plugged into right now, which is coming through the audio panel. So this microphone is coming through my audio mixer into microphone 2, which is what you're getting here in the recording from there. This one is going through the camera, the VX30, and coming back through the HDMI being recorded. So now I'm going to turn off momentarily the audio from the mixer. So now you're just getting audio directly from the camera through the HDMI, and that HDMI is the video that we're seeing also. Okay, so let me go back over to here, and so this is the unencumbered, not going through the computer, video with the audio coming from the camera and through the HDMI cable. All right, so I'm going to bring back my audio from the mic, and I'm going to turn off the HDMI audio, and now you should be able to see the same. Now all this time that camera is recording my audio and video. All right, so I am going to hit the off button, stopping the record, and so now I have a file that is completely separate from anything I've done over here that has been recording audio and video as long as I had this mic on. So there we go. Let's see how that all comes out and see how that works. I'm going to hit that. It says starting to record, and it did start to record. So it looks like now with that blue lit up over on the on that we are recording, and I am recording. Let me bring this up here, and now I'm recording also to the drive itself and the audio. So the audio is plugged in, and I'm going to bring up the audio that's going to come through the HDMI cable from that camera. So you should be able to hear the delay coming through that HDMI as opposed to coming directly in through the microphone that I'm plugged into right now, which is coming through the audio panel. So this microphone is coming through my audio mixer. So I wanted to finish up this by talking to you about these files that I'm getting off of there, off the camera itself. This is called an FMP4 or fragmented MP4 file, and these are used apparently for streaming. So they work really well. They're quick to use, and they go quickly out there. But that's the file I'm getting off of the flash drive that I put in there. It took me a while to figure out how to convert it to MP4 that I could then add to what I'm doing here, and I'm using VLC to do that. I'm going to put together another short video on how that all works, so stay tuned, but there is hope for these FMP4 files. All right. Now back to the video. The other thing is, if you are liking what you're seeing, if you're liking what you're hearing, please subscribe, like, hit that button, hit that bell, share this with somebody else, and ask me questions. Put something down in the chat. Give me something to talk about. Give us something to talk about. Question my techniques or what I'm doing. If it looks like I'm off, I'll try to correct it and see what it looks like.